By 2026, the technology industry will stop building devices for your hands. The focus has completely shifted to direct human-to-machine connectivity. Modern computing suffers from a severe mathematical friction. The processing capabilities of our servers are massive and instantaneous, but they are choked by the agonizingly slow speed of human input. We treat the glass screen in our pockets as the pinnacle of communication. In reality, it is a primitive artifact, an evolutionary anchor tying digital execution to the speed of our thumbs. When you formulate a thought to send a message, there is a distinct biological latency. Your motor cortex, the region of the cerebral cortex involved in the planning, control, and execution of voluntary movements, must first translate that intention into an electrical signal. That signal travels down your arm, triggering a physical muscle contraction, forcing a digit to strike a piece of glass. That mechanical process introduces massive friction and delay into an otherwise frictionless digital system. The 2026 engineering solution entirely eliminates the physical body from the equation. High-fidelity neural crowns, non-invasive, high-bandwidth wearable arrays designed to read brain activity directly through the scalp intercept these signals at the source. The human body is a bottleneck. The era of tactile input is over, and hardware developers are finally engineering their way around our physical limitations. This diagram illustrates the skeletal bypass. It captures motor cortex spikes and routes them directly to a machine, circumventing the physical nervous system. The array instantaneously translates neural firing into a high-speed stream of digital code, executing on the server before your physical muscle even twitches. We define this frictionless translation of thought to code as synaptic execution. Synaptic execution operates at a bandwidth and speed that makes keyboards and touchscreens obsolete. Physical hardware inputs are inherently fragile, subject to mechanical wear, and bottlenecked by human reaction times. This biological workaround is the direct catalyst for a hidden $41 trillion macroeconomic pivot currently reshaping global markets. Any global industry still reliant on mechanical human input in 2026 faces immediate structural collapse. The supply chains supporting tactile devices are already being quietly dismantled. To understand the scale of this shift, we must look at the macroeconomic strategy of terminal obsolescence. Terminal obsolescence is the deliberate depreciation of an entire category of technology, driven by the introduction of an incompatible, superior standard. The largest tech conglomerates are currently executing a massive industrial retreat. Internal documents like this strategic investment memorandum show an active divestment from physical display manufacturing and mobile device assembly. This descending bar chart, overlaid onto the fracturing 3D model of a standard smartphone, maps out what financial analysts call the fracture zone, the precise period where the legacy tech economy begins to break apart. Institutional capital is aggressively draining out of global hardware supply chains. The market for tactile interfaces has hit a ceiling. Rising from that empty space is the incoming replacement model. This trendline tracks the projected explosion of synaptic access subscriptions. A subscription model based on direct neural access creates a virtually impenetrable, infinitely recurring revenue stream. Once a user relies on a neural crown to interact with their environment, the subscription becomes as mandatory as a utility bill. This software-driven durability stands in sharp contrast to the process of physically manufacturing, shipping, and selling fragile glass screens, a model highly vulnerable to geopolitical friction and raw material shortages. We are witnessing a terminal bifurcation. Legacy hardware manufacturers are facing rapid devaluation, while firms developing neural architecture are absorbing trillions in newly redirected capital. The technology sector has stopped selling screens. The objective now is to monetize direct, continuous access to human cognition. This corporate revenue shift triggers an immediate and severe global geopolitical realignment. An underreported mobilization of private credit is currently abandoning international supply networks. Private credit refers to corporate loans extended by non-bank financial institutions, often used to quietly fund massive infrastructure projects away from public markets. This map tracks the precise geographic destination of these new capital flow vectors. The glowing data lines show capital withdrawing rapidly from assembly hubs in East Asia, converging heavily into two distinct nodes, London and Washington, D.C. This inward movement of capital is not an attempt to chase cheaper labor or secure manufacturing tax breaks. This capital is seeking absolute sovereign control over the newly defined synaptic layer. The goal is the immediate production of sovereign hardware. Sovereign hardware is domestic neural infrastructure that is manufactured, coded, and deployed entirely within a nation's borders, completely insulated from foreign supply chains. Domesticating the manufacturing of neural arrays is a strict national security imperative. When the device connects directly to the human motor cortex, foreign manufacturing becomes an unacceptable risk. The intelligence community views traditional, heavily outsourced supply chains as massive architectural vulnerabilities. A single compromised microchip in a tactile device steals data. A compromised node in a neural array manipulates intent. This hardware reshoring connects directly to the broader race for sovereign AI dominance prior to the 2026 rollout. Sovereign AI relies on artificial intelligence systems built, trained, and regulated exclusively under one nation's jurisdiction. The entity responsible for the fabrication of the physical neural crown establishes the structural protocols for all downstream human input. The geopolitical reality is stark. The nation that dictates the manufacturing of the physical neural arrays will dictate the boundaries, the security, and the rules of the global synaptic layer. The transition from physical input to synaptic execution completely shatters existing frameworks for individual security. For decades, society relied on a distinct ethical guardrail. This digital privacy perimeter was strictly defined by the wide physical gap between a human brain and a machine interface. The legacy model of data protection places a glowing firewall shield between the physical keyboard and the external network. Information is secured only after it is consciously typed. The skeletal bypass structurally nullifies this firewall, entirely removing the physical device from the chain of execution. A neural interface system reads the raw, unfiltered broadcast of human thought. It intercepts the motor cortex spike before any conscious, secondary filtering can occur. When inputs shift from deliberate physical keystrokes to raw neurological broadcasts, every traditional cybersecurity framework currently securing the global economy becomes instantly obsolete. The collapse of data protection forces a new cybersecurity imperative: intent protection. This complex process secures, encrypts, and verifies human thoughts before they translate into digital execution. Securing an impulse is vastly more difficult than securing a file. An unedited neural broadcast contains millions of data points regarding user state, their emotional reaction, and subconscious intent. A compromised synaptic layer allows external actors to monitor unexecuted human intent, capturing the biological precursors to a decision before it is finalized. This causes a profound inward collapse of the modern privacy perimeter. The defensive shield is no longer sitting on a server rack. It is forced to wrap directly around the biological source. Human consciousness is the ultimate attack surface. The hardware in your pocket will soon be a relic. The conglomerates and sovereign nations funding the 2026 migration have already accepted this reality. The interface is no longer in the palm of our hands. It has permanently migrated into our minds, and this $41 trillion transition